Hi there and welcome to the channel of A Disappointed Man with me, Jason Kennedy, the Disappointed Man. Now this will be a rather short video as unfortunately I am still rather unwell and it does seem as if it's going to take quite a while for me to make a full recovery. However, I wanted to get started with Non-Fiction November, the booktube event, and so today I'll be making my first recommendation and it is going to be this book. The Dillen, Memories of a Stratford-upon-Avon Man. Now, I'm very excited to show this to you. It's a work of oral history, and actually this book is also full of very interesting photographs from the period. The background is this. In the 1970s, George Hewins, the Dillen of the title of this book, was giving an interview to his granddaughter, and they realized he had such a wealth of historical knowledge and was a gifted storyteller that they would record these interviews and produce a book from them. And this is the result. It traces the first 45 years of his life from his birth in the 1870s until after the First World War. And it's just an incredibly fascinating document. It makes a great compliment actually to Laurie Lee's As I Walked Out One Midsummer Morning, because whereas Laurie Lee leaves his village and goes off and has all these experiences in the greater world and develops in that way, the George Hewins of this book stays in Stratford-upon-Avon his whole life, but has just as many crazy adventures, and they're all collected together here. Many of these adventures are just of the childhood kind, of having fun with your friends, making the best of a bad time, but others are intimately linked with poverty, and there are so many shocking scenes of grinding poverty in this book. It really took me aback, but George is also a very kind-hearted man and, as a storyteller, extremely observant, and the passage I want to read to you, he's doing a job on a workhouse and he just records what he can see, and it goes like this. I was doing a job at the workhouse slating the roof. It was a bitter cold morning when we started. Frost was in the air and I reckoned it could be my last chance of work for a while. The door opens and the slummocky roadster woman they'd got for a nurse brings the babbies out, one by one. They'd messed themselves. She peels their clothes back and swills them under the pump like so many winter savoys. November and ice cold water, they screamed. Those screams echoed round that square yard, hit the high brick walls of the workhouse and the roof where I was. The older kiddies starts to congregate. Who should I see but Hilda Rowe and Violet? They'd had their hair chopped off, weared long Holland pinners with big red letters, Stratford-on-Avon Workhouse. They did some sort of drill. Then they was marched in a straight line to the National School across the road. The babby screams and those red letters haunted me all day. If I weren't hearing the one, I was seeing the other. When I got home, I told the missus, but she said, it's to distinguish 'em. Who from? From kiddies whose dad's working. How would you like our George took for a pauper? Teddy Rowe was working, I said, till he went to the infirmary. He'd got TB. They took you to the infirmary to die. I was angry. There's no need for them red letters. The pauper kids is distinguished all right. You can spot 'em straight away. They's up against the wall watching the others play. They ain't playing, and when they marches out at night, the other kids is calling workhouse brats after 'em. Workhouse brats. They's distinguished all right. If I ever catches our George calling like that. I could see she didn't think the same as me. She was wrong. The guardians was wrong, and all of us letting it happen. Why was you punished for being poor? Why do they part husbands and wives in the workhouse? Mothers and kiddies tell me that. Some sent one way, some t'other, according. It's cruel. Shut up, George, said the missus. And they didn't always wait till you was dead before they buried you. One old chap I knowed, while he was in, they made him orderly. He used to help the nurses if anybody died. And this day they called him up and he says, but he ain't dead, nurse. The nurse said, he soon will be on that cold slab. That's how it was in the workhouse. Well, they hadn't got the staff. They hadn't got the wit. That episode is rather grim, but you do still see George's essential humanity shining through there, even if his wife is rather hard-hearted. Now, there are many other incidents in here, of course, and they kind of separate into two main types. There are some which involve kind of putting one over on someone else, so they kind of take you back to that picaresque tradition, all the way back to texts like the Decameron. You'll see the way George gets the better of other people, and occasionally they manage to best George in turn. There are also many incidents which involve sex. I won't read you the very rudest ones, but this one that I can quote is rather amusing, and it concerns the realities of married life after George has wed his sweetheart, and it goes like this. We had to share a bed with her mother. There was us at one end and her mother's feet are sticking in our faces, but I was lucky. The old lady generally dropped off fast enough after a day's charring and a couple of stouts, and since that first night, Emma had never turned me away. Plenty of blokes' wives did. They talked about it in the pub as we worked along the line. Says I's only middling, they said. Feeling tired. Bloody Saturday night and all, old cow. I kept my mouth shut. Don't worry. Trying to read that without laughing was a real challenge. Okay, I think I've said enough about this book. It's an extremely earthy account, but it's all real. It's all true. And it's a slice of life that would have been lost if it hadn't, thankfully, been recorded before George Hewins' passing. This is a great work of oral history. If you have any oral history recommendations of your own that you'd like to leave in the comments below for me, please do so. But now I'm going to depart. So until the next time, be safe, be strong, and I shall see you anon. Nanu nanu.